Okay, so imagine having a key,
Hmm.
not just any key,
Right.
but one that unlocks investment opportunities all over the globe.
Yeah,
That's the potential we're talking about with international investing.
I like that. But
Yeah.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of navigating markets in other countries might feel a bit
Yeah,
like trekking through uncharted territory.
it can.
So that's why we're diving deep into your
Mhm.
notes and some research today
Okay.
to clear the path and make this whole world of opportunity
Yeah.
feel accessible and,
Yeah.
dare I say, exciting.
I love that analogy.
Absolutely.
And you're right. It's about opening doors to a wider range of possibilities.
So tell me,
Yeah.
what is it about your current portfolio that makes you think about going global? Is there a specific goal you have in mind?
Well, from what I understand, you're looking for long-term growth,
Right.
but also ways to make your portfolio more resilient
Okay.
to, let's say, unexpected events in the U.S. market.
That's where the concept of diversification comes in.
Right.
And it's a key theme in the research you've gathered.
Diversification.
Yep.
It's like the golden rule of investing,
It is.
but sometimes
Yeah.
it's easier said than done.
That's true.
Right.
But think about it this way.
Okay.
What if a major policy change,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say a sudden economic downturn hits the U.S. market?
Right.
If all your investments are concentrated here,
Okay.
your entire portfolio could take a hit.
Mm-hmm.
International diversification is like having shark absorbers for your investments.
Ooh.
You're spreading your risk across different markets.
I see.
So if one stumbles,
Yeah.
you're not completely on your knees.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So instead of putting all my eggs in one basket,
Exactly.
I'm essentially creating a network of baskets across the globe.
Right.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal here.
Good.
But
Yeah.
wouldn't that make things incredibly complex to manage? I mean, keeping up with just the U.S. market is enough of a headache sometimes.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah,
It's true that international investing adds another layer of complexity,
right.
but it's not about trying to become an expert on every single global market.
Okay.
Remember that research we were talking about?
Yeah.
It highlights the top 10 global equity markets.
Mm.
Now, some of the usual suspects are in there.
Okay.
U.S., China, Japan.
Yeah.
But there are others that might surprise you.
Oh, like which ones?
Do any of them stand out to you as particularly promising right now?
Well, take the Australian Securities Exchange, for example.
Okay.
It's actually ranked 10th on the list.
Okay.
And while it might not be the first place that comes to mind,
Right.
it's got a lot going for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more. I'm intrigued.
Well, they've got a strong financial sector, which is
Mhm.
always a good sign.
Right.
But what's really interesting is their growing presence
Okay.
in technology and renewable energy.
These are sectors poised for global growth.
Yeah.
And Australia is positioning itself as a key player.
So Australia is kind of like a hidden gem.
I like that.
Not as flashy as some of the bigger markets, but with a lot of potential
Right.
simmering under the surface.
Uh-huh.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
See, this is why I love these deep dives.
Yeah.
Always uncovering something new.
Yeah.
But let's face it.
Okay.
There's one thing that always makes me a bit hesitant
Yeah.
when it comes to investing internationally.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Uh-huh.
Currency fluctuations.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like you could do all the right research,
Yeah.
pick amazing companies,
Uh-huh.
and then have your returns wiped out by a sudden shift in exchange rates.
Yeah.
It feels like a gamble sometimes.
You're not wrong to be cautious.
Yeah.
Currency risk is definitely a real factor.
Right.
But it's not always a monster under the bed.
Okay.
Let's unpack this a bit.
Okay.
Think about it this way. Currency movements can actually work both for and against you.
Hold on.
Okay.
How can a weakening currency be a good thing?
Okay. Let's say you invest in a company
Mm-hmm.
in, say, Brazil,
Okay.
and the Brazilian real weakens against the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
When you eventually convert your earnings back to U.S. dollars,
Right.
you'll get less back
Right.
than you would have if the exchange rate had stayed the same.
Okay, so that's the downside risk I was thinking of.
You get a-
But what about the flip side?
Well, imagine the opposite scenario.
Okay.
Let's say that same Brazilian company's stock price goes up 10%,
Mm-hmm.
and during that same time,
Okay.
the real strengthens by 5% against the dollar.
Okay.
Your overall return, when converted back to dollars, would actually be amplified.
Interesting.
You'd be looking at a gain closer to 15%.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's like a built-in bonus if the currency moves in your favor. So
Exactly.
it's not always a negative.
right.
But still, how do you even begin to predict those currency fluctuations?
You're right.
Yeah.
Predicting currency movements with certainty is impossible.
Right.
However, there are ways to manage that risk.
Okay.
One common approach is called hedging.
Right.
Yep.
I remember seeing that term in the research, but to be honest,
Yeah.
it always sounded a bit too technical for me.
I understand.
Can you break it down in a way that even I can understand?
Of course.
Okay.
Think of hedging as a way to sort of lock in an exchange rate.
Okay.
Let's say you want to invest in a European company,
Mm-hmm.
but you're worried about the euro weakening against the dollar.
Yeah.
You could use a hedging strategy to essentially guarantee a certain exchange rate,
Okay.
even if the market fluctuates.
So it's like an insurance policy
Yeah.
against big currency swings.
That's a good way to think about it.
Okay.
Hedging can help protect your investment from losing value
Right.
due to unfavorable currency movements.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm less afraid of the currency monster, but there's still this whole other jungle to navigate. How do
Yeah.
you even choose what to invest in?
Right.
The research mentions stocks,
Yep.
ETFs,
Right.
mutual funds,
Yeah.
all these different terms. It's enough to make your head spin.
I hear you.
Yeah.
It can definitely feel like information overload,
Right.
but don't worry.
Okay.
It's not as complicated as it seems.
Okay.
These are really just different containers for your investments.
Containers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Stocks are like buying individual ingredients,
Uh-huh.
each with its own unique flavor and potential.
Okay.
ETFs, on the other hand, are like pre-made meals.
Okay.
They offer a mix of different stocks bundled together,
Okay.
allowing you to diversify across a sector, region,
I see.
or even an entire market with a single purchase.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture.
Good.
So ETFs are kind of like those curated food boxes you get delivered
Exactly.
with a selection of goodies from different parts of the world.
You get a taste of everything
Right.
without having to pick out each ingredient individually.
Okay.
And then there are mutual funds,
Yeah.
which are like going to a restaurant and letting the chef create a custom dish for you
Okay.
based on your preferences.
So it's like having a personal chef for your international investments.
That's a good way to put it.
That sounds pretty fancy.
Yeah.
But how do I know which container is right for me?
That's where understanding your own goals and risk tolerance comes in.
Right?
Do you enjoy the thrill of picking individual stocks?
Mm.
Or do you prefer a more hands-off approach
Yeah.
with a diversified basket of investments?
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
It's about finding what aligns best with your investing style
Okay.
and comfort level.
Got it.
Yeah,
So it's all about finding the right recipe for my global investment journey.
exactly.
But even with the perfect mix of ingredients
Mm.
and the best chef in the world,
Right.
you can't completely eliminate risk, right?
You're absolutely right.
Right.
And that brings us to another key point highlighted in your research.
Okay.
The importance of understanding and navigating the specific risks
Right.
associated with international investing.
I remember reading about things like political instability, regulatory changes,
Yeah.
all these factors that are completely out of our control.
Right.
It can feel pretty daunting.
It's true that international markets come with their own set of challenges.
Right.
But remember,
Okay.
every investment, even domestic ones,
Yeah.
carries some level of risk.
Okay.
The key is not to let fear paralyze you,
Right.
but to approach these risks with a sense of awareness
Okay.
and a healthy dose of due diligence.
So it's not about avoiding risk altogether, but about knowing what you're getting into
Right.
and making informed decisions.
Absolutely.
But how do you even begin to assess all those country-specific risks? I mean, do I really need to become an expert on the political landscape of every country I invest in?
That's a great question. And it brings us to a crucial point.
Okay.
How do we make sure we're not just blindly throwing darts at a map of the world?
Right.
How do we actually make informed decisions about which markets to explore?
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. It
Right.
feels like a massive undertaking. Where do you even begin?
Well, you're spot on.
Yeah.
It's about being strategic and focused.
Right?
It's not about becoming a global political analyst overnight.
Okay.
Remember, we're aiming for well-informed, not overwhelmed.
Okay, that's a relief.
Good.
So where do we start?
Right.
How do we narrow down the options without getting lost in a sea of data?
One approach is to start with your existing knowledge and interests.
Okay.
What sectors or industries are you already familiar with?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any global trends that particularly excite you?
Well, I'm fascinated by the whole renewable energy revolution.
Okay.
It feels like that's a trend with global momentum.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
And it ties in perfectly with what we were just discussing about Australia.
Uh-huh.
Their commitment to renewable energy is attracting a lot of investment.
Right.
But it's also a sector where understanding regulatory risks is particularly important.
Oh, right, because government policies play a huge role
Exactly.
in shaping the renewable energy landscape.
And the research you provided actually highlights a current example of this
Okay.
in Europe.
Mhm.
Changes to renewable energy subsidies are creating some uncertainty
Interesting.
for investors.
So even when investing in something as seemingly future-proof as renewable energy,
Right.
there are still geopolitical factors to consider.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that's where due diligence becomes crucial.
Okay.
It's about going beyond the headlines
Right.
and digging deeper
Yeah.
into the specific policies,
Mhm.
regulations,
Okay.
and political climate of the countries you're considering.
Okay. So it's about being informed,
Yes.
not just about the companies themselves,
Right.
but also about the broader context. Yeah.
In which they operate.
Exactly.
But honestly, that sounds like a lot of work.
I understand.
Are there any tools or resources
Yeah.
that can help make this process less intimidating?
There are.
Okay.
Think of it like equipping yourself for an expedition.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't just wander into the jungle without a map and a compass.
Right.
Similarly,
Mm-hmm.
in the world of international investing,
Okay.
there are resources to guide your exploration.
Okay.
For starters, you can find a wealth of information in research reports
Okay.
from reputable financial institutions.
Hmm.
They often provide in-depth analysis of specific countries and industries,
Right.
including insights into the political and regulatory landscape.
That sounds helpful.
Yeah.
But those reports can be pretty dense, right?
It can be.
Yeah.
And that's why it's also crucial to lean on the expertise of financial advisors
Okay.
who specialize in international investing.
Right.
They can help you navigate the complexities,
Hmm.
tailor your investment strategy to your specific goals. Yeah.
And keep you updated on any major changes or events
Okay.
that might impact your portfolio.
So it's like having a seasoned guide to help you navigate the terrain.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay. I'm starting to feel a bit more confident about this whole thing.
Good.
It's still a bit daunting,
Yeah.
but I'm seeing how with the right tools and guidance,
Right.
it's manageable.
Exactly.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I'm curious about something.
Okay.
The research mentions the top 50 equity markets in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any hidden gems in there that you think deserve a closer look?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're thinking beyond the obvious choices.
Right.
While predicting the future of any market is impossible,
Yeah.
there are certain indicators that can point us towards potential opportunities.
Okay.
And one market that's been catching my eye lately is Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Yeah.
That's not one I would have immediately thought of.
Right.
What makes it stand out to you?
Well, for starters,
Hmm.
it's Southeast Asia's largest economy,
Okay.
which is a pretty significant factor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just about size.
Right.
Indonesia has a young and rapidly growing population,
Mm-hmm.
and that translates into a burgeoning middle class
Mm-hmm.
with increasing purchasing power.
So it's like a demographic dividend playing out in real time.
Precisely.
Okay.
And the government is actively investing in infrastructure and technology
Mm.
to support this growth.
Right.
They're making strides in areas like digital connectivity,
Okay.
transportation,
Yeah.
and renewable energy, which are all positive signs for future economic expansion.
Okay. I'm seeing the potential here. It's
Yeah.
like a whole new world of opportunity opening up. But I have to ask,
Yeah.
are there any red flags
Sure.
or potential risks
Yeah.
associated with investing in Indonesia?
Of course, every market comes with its own set of challenges
Right.
in the case of Indonesia.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind is the political landscape.
Okay.
They're a democracy.
Which is generally a good thing,
Yeah.
but it also means
Okay.
there can be periods of political uncertainty
Right.
or changes in government policies that could impact investments.
So it's back to that idea of due diligence,
Exactly.
really understanding the specific context of the market before jumping in.
But don't let that discourage you.
Okay.
The point isn't to shy away from potentially lucrative opportunities,
Yeah.
but to approach them with open eyes
Right.
and a well-informed strategy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about balancing the excitement of discovery with a healthy dose of caution
Uh-huh.
and informed decision-making.
You got it.
Okay.
And that's really the essence of what we've been talking about today.
Okay.
International investing isn't just about chasing returns in far-flung markets.
Hmm.
It's about expanding our horizons,
Great.
embracing a global mindset,
Yeah.
and ultimately becoming more sophisticated and informed investors.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like we're not just diversifying our portfolios.
Yeah. We're diversifying our thinking about investing itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that, in my opinion, is the most valuable takeaway of all.
Okay, so let's recap.
Yeah.
We've talked about the power of diversification, the importance of understanding currency risk,
Right.
and how to choose the right investment vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
We've also explored how to navigate country-specific risks and even uncovered some potential hidden gems like the Australian and Indonesian markets.
Exactly.
It's been a whirlwind tour of the international investing landscape.
And hopefully it's been an inspiring one.
It has.
I think the biggest takeaway here is that international investing
Yeah.
isn't just for seasoned professionals or high net worth individuals.
Right.
It's an opportunity available to anyone who's willing to do their homework, seek out expert guidance, and embrace the exciting possibilities of a globalized investment world.
Well said.
Thank you.
But before we send our listeners off on their own global adventures, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The importance of seeking professional advice.
Right.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
And it's clear that international investing has a lot of moving parts.
It does.
While we've done our best to break it down and make it feel less intimidating, it's crucial to remember that we're not financial advisors.
That's right.
Right.
The information we've discussed today is for educational purposes only.
Okay.
And shouldn't be taken as personalized investment advice.
Right.
Every individual's financial situation is unique.
Yeah.
And what might be a suitable investment strategy for one person might not be right for another.
Exactly.
Right.
So before making any investment decisions, it's essential to consult with a qualified financial advisor who can assess your specific goals, risk tolerance, and overall financial picture. They can help you create a tailored plan that aligns with your individual needs and circumstances.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
You wouldn't attempt to climb Mount Everest without an experienced Sherpa guide, would you?
That's a great analogy.
Cool.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of international investing, I want to leave our listener with a final thought.
Okay.
We started by talking about a key that unlocks global opportunities, but now I'm thinking that maybe the real key isn't just about accessing new markets, but about unlocking a new way of thinking about investing itself.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
International investing encourages us to step outside our comfort zones, to look beyond familiar borders, and to embrace a more global perspective.
I like that.
And that shift in mindset can be incredibly valuable.
Okay.
Not just in our financial lives, but in how we approach the world as a whole.
So it's not just about diversifying our portfolios. It's about diversifying our thinking. Becoming more curious, more open to different cultures and perspectives.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's a journey that can lead to some truly rewarding discoveries.
Okay.
Both financially and personally.
Well said.
Thank you.
So, to our listener out there, don't be afraid to explore, to ask questions, and to keep learning.
Absolutely.
There's a whole world of opportunity waiting to be discovered. And you're now equipped with the knowledge and the mindset to start your own global investing adventure.
Remember, every journey begins with a single step. Today, you've taken that step by diving deep into the world of international investing.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to continue the exploration and see where it leads.